Good morning, everyone, and especially to Daniel, that is in the digital realm, and everyone that's watching us from home. My name is Fábio Monteiro, like I said, and we are here with Rui and Raul to talk about a bit about data analytics. And I would like to start with a story. I read recently a novel about a mega corporation, a bit like Amazon and Facebook fused. And at some point, one of the characters says a brave standpoint. It's not possible to live a life without data. Is not worth living. It's a emboldened statement, but it also talks about our current moment. In this morning, we already heard José and Nuno talk about the flow and the availability of data we have today. But this data is not useful if you cannot transform it in insights. And to that point, I would like to start with Rui. How can companies turn this data and how into insights, and what are the current challenges?
Okay, so good morning, everyone. So I think the first thing is to call BI for all. Okay, so I think it's obviously, I'm joking, of course. I'm joking, but seriously at the same time. What companies can do, I think it's very simple, is that, so every day we are generating data. So whilst 10 years ago, companies were concerned about building their own data warehouses and data marts, each department creating their own tool to visualize and making reports. Nowadays, completely different, because customers are so demanding that companies need to have tools and platforms to support all of these challenges that are being, are coming each day. So what companies can do is simple. It's just to collect data, and we have heard before with José and Nuno Barbosa that lots of data we can collect and transform and turn this data into information, into reasonable insights. So I think a big buzzword that everyone that are in this room is regarding big data and velocity. So what we need right now is to have velocity to extract this data and put all of this data available to our teams and to the business analysts just looking at it and extract valuable information to the executive to create products, to optimize performance, to optimize cost savings everywhere. So I think that's it.
Okay. Raul?
Yes, I think it's, I tend to agree. Good morning, first of all. I tend to agree with Rui. Right now, the challenge is to aggregate all of this data that is generated by day in big data warehouse, data lakes, the buzzwords that we heard right now. Of course, that with the recent evolution, we have much bigger ecosystems that can handle all of this data. We have the cloud environments that was a big help for us on that situation. Of course, we have some concerns, but with our expertise, we can wisely choose pilot programs to customers. When we choose the reliable data and the less sensitive one for the first wave, and then start growing after that with all the data that we need. But I think we must to live with data because it's a valuable asset that we have for the companies and for our lives.
So, Daniel, you are on the customer side. Can you tell me what are the most obvious benefits that the big data platform brings to a company?
Well, I think first of all, I don't think there is really, it's really a choice whether company collect data or not. I think the need to collect more data and understand better the markets that we're playing in, understanding the customers, and understanding the different forces of the market and the environment becomes more and more essential. And there's way more data around than before. And I think it's really about keeping the competition alive, respectively, realizing a competitive benefit out of the data. That is the big challenge, I think. On the other hand, I think if not doing that, your companies soon find themselves into a demand to catch up on what others have done already. So, and I think the amount of data is massive. I think the amount of data available is bigger than before. But also the good news is the technology is there to actually consume that data, store that data, and actually make something out of it. And I think that's really the good news here. I think where we probably have struggled before to find good solutions on how to process this data, we have better and better technology available to us to do that.
Okay. So in the last conversation we heard Sophia talk about how the healthcare ecosystem can be sometimes conservative about adapting and what kind of data we can use and get some insights on it. Sometimes adopting this transformation of mindset, it's not always obvious for companies. Do you feel some skepticism, and do you encounter some skepticism from some companies? And can you give me some examples about this sector?
Yeah, the skepticism that we saw these years is mostly about the moving from the on-prem to the cloud, and because in the past, when the customers have their own data in their own data centers, in their own buildings, they know that the data is with them. And right now, with the cloud environments, of course, that we reliable on our partnerships with the big vendors that guarantee that we have our data safe, and for that we should implement programs by waves to assure that skepticism to vanish by the time with the customers.
But there is some sector of business that is more conservative.
Mostly the conservatives, like we said. I have a great experience in the banking and insurance sector. That also a sector that is a way more conservative than the others, as we have seen the digital transformation that all of them are facing now. But of course, we saw most disruptive applications like Revolut, that is with a different business from the traditional banking, and we also have a customer that is a MOE, that is a branch inside Crédit Agricole that is also very innovative, and we are delivering some project with them.
Do you think there is some skepticism on cloud, putting some kind of data with issues of GDPR and everything around it, to put some banking data in the cloud system?
Yes, of course, because with especially for instance for banking, we have regulations from Banco Portugal that doesn't allow us to put some data on the cloud in the first waves. Then they changed the regulation, and GDPR came because, as Nuno said previously, sometimes it's not what we can do, but what we should do. When we pass some frontiers, the GDPR assured that we respect some of them and not pass it. Of course, that as we said before, in the past, the systems are developed for the reporting, and now we are developing them to get insights and to collect all the data. And with GDPR, of course, we have some concerns. We have everything have to be auditable. The regulators always interact with the companies, the banking, the insurance, etc. And we have to have an agile ecosystem that can respond quickly for these demandings.
Rui?
Yes, in fact, the regulations are an issue, and our customers are very, concerned about this, and especially those that have most valuable assets, like it's not data, only data, it's data and information. So we must settle everything on contract and secure our customers into that.
Okay. And Daniel, do you think how you will describe the energy ecosystem in the processing of data?
I think, from a personal data perspective, we're probably not as exposed as a healthcare or banking system, although we still do have GDPR relevant data, and we have a process on how to deal with it. I think I would like to add one more aspect here, besides GDPR, which is intellectual property, especially on the analysis of data and any results following out of the processing of data. And I think that's also what companies are concerned about, and are a bit reluctant to put things into the cloud, which they think could be a competitive advantage for them. But there's definitely, I think, some hurdles to overcome and convince people that this is still the right way to go. But there need to be processes around that within the company to make sure this can be governed and controlled in an appropriate way.
One of the big factors and the big risks of big data is sometimes a certain blindness and an hyper focus only on data, and we forgot and we can't forget the human element. How will we balance this hyper focus somehow, Daniel? Is this preventable in some way? There are some check and balance mechanisms that companies can put it in the flow of the work.
I think people need to understand that, driven by the market and the competition, there is a need to take more advantage from data, right? How do people get there? I think it's a process, right? I think it's really a process. Whereas some people, and that's probably more the youngsters amongst us, they grow up in a world with way more data available to them, whereas others have to really learn how to process such a big amount and variety of data. And that's where I think trust is one of the big elements that needs to be taken care of, and trust in the data that people are seeing and processing, and trust into the results they're producing. And I think there we, at least on our end, starting with a relatively traditional BI setup where data can be explained, whatever data point we process can be explained, and it has a defined source, and it can be reconciled. I think that is important, and that has also led to a process being kicked off in the company where people, as they are trusting more and more what they're seeing in our dashboards and what they're consuming from our data warehouse, they actually feel the appetite and demand for more. And I think that's a very good process. But also, as I said before, I think processes need to be in place within the company to keep it like that, to keep the trust alive in what people are seeing, and what people are consuming in terms of data.
Thank you, Daniel. So Rui, you are in a privileged point, and I think we can make a small jump from what Daniel was saying. You are in a privileged point for you work on the business intelligence for 20 years or more. So I think it will be interesting to see how is this evolution happened, and what are the main differences that you feel from your business
yes,
perspective.
but let me just continue the previous question that is regarding, because Daniel focused on one important point, that is, you can have the best technology, but you don't have the process in place.
So you are talking about talent.
And the people and place, you cannot do anything. So you are just collecting data, and you have a big data platform, and you cannot, if you don't do anything about it, it just doesn't matter, okay? So I think it's very important. That is the great message that I want to pass regarding this previous question, is that the majority of the companies, they are collecting relevant data, they are not using it. So it's very important to have teams that are looking on it, collecting data, putting and creating algorithms with machine learning algorithms, and on the top you put artificial intelligence on top, and create data over data. And then the C-level and the mid-senior can take better decisions. So it's very important to have process and the right people to manage the...
And how easy is to find that people?
I think it's... BI for All now has more than 400. Yes, it's an incredible journey that BI for All has been made these last years. So myself and my team, some of them are here, we are facing this challenge. It has been always a challenge. I think 3 years three years ago, when we thought that how can we grow this company to 200 people, I think we thought in that time that was impossible, but right now we have more than 400. So the universities are doing a great job in Portugal and outside Portugal, but right now BI for All is expanding we are expanding our business, especially through Europe and through North America, and we are gathering people and looking for people of other countries as well, like Romania, England. We have here people that we have hired from England, because we have some specialties that is very, very rare to hire, and BI for All is providing them some secure, and we have a great environment to grow up these people, and with this we can grow up the business of our customers.
It's easy to find these people?
It's not easy. We have our HR team looking at it, and we have our growth team. That is a recent team. We need to transform internally to make this step to make this step further. Okay. It's very difficult. But how we do that? We need to invite here our HR manager, because she's doing a great job, she and her team.
Of course.
But sorry, I have just
I wanted to take you to a trip through memory past and ask you how you see this evolution in the last 20 years from the business perspective.
I see some things that customers are always asking the same, not so many indeed. And I see some new things. The new things that I see is that customers are requesting a lot of data governance. Because when you have a lot of data, you need to put all in place and give the right data to the right people. And this is a huge challenge for our customers. Okay? So I think this is a new thing, that you don't have too many specialists in the market to do that. And if you look at the market, our customers are demanding data governance, data strategy, but they are not finding these people. Why? Because they are working with us.
Who, do you feel the same?
Yeah, more or less. As Rui already said, we hire people, but not only it's important our HR department, but also the knowledge center that we have, where we have the specialists in data strategy and data governance, that with our academies we can train our people, and in the putting in the landing with the customers on that programs that Daniel already told, this about processes where we have these programs, we can define these rules and then make our teams better and better every day.
Daniel, how you see the same question, the evolution of how your experience of leading a team inside many companies through the years, and you feel that the data that we are collecting today is the same data and the challenges are the same in the last 20 years?
No, the challenges have definitely evolved, I think. I think it's also the technology has evolved and has given us more possibilities. Just think about all the technology that was built around AI and machine learning that has given us new tools that are easier to consume than they were like decades before. That has definitely changed the demand of changed the type of resources that we demand and that we need. Fortunately, we have companies like BI for All, and I can proudly say that we're on probably in our 6th or 7th year together with BI for All in building on our data capabilities. It also is challenging the customers of BI for All to find the people on their sides to actually come up with tangible issues and problems that need to be solved through data, right? And to find the use cases where data can be applied in a way where it adds value to the decision making and the operations and the general improvement of how companies operate. And I think there is two things there. One is the behavioral aspect of your existing and the knowledge of your existing staff, because you can't just turn people into kind of data scientists from one day to the other, right? It's a process and it's a slow process. But then you need to stimulate that through hiring. And it is definitely a challenge to find people to help you along the way. That's why we're counting on partners to help us with that, to stimulate that internal transformation. But absolutely, I agree that it's a challenge to find the right people to follow this journey.
A challenge about collecting data, and sometimes there are plenty of opportunities, but they are not seized. There are some sets of data that some of the customers of Before regret not collecting in the past, or they should be collecting today and they are not collecting.
Yeah, of course. As we already said in the past, for instance, storage is much more expensive than it is today. With the cloud environments, we can manage our ecosystem by a click. In a second, you duplicate, for instance, your capacity of storage. In the past, we don't have the power compute to treat all the data. So we tend in the past to choose only the data that we need for the reporting one. Right now, we have new challenges. We have the need to collect all the possible data, so we can find after that the insights for the future, where we can analyze all the data and put the machine learning and the AI processes on top of it. And for that, we need all the data that we can take off it from our systems. Of course, that we did digital transformation. Right now, we have lots of data that we don't have before. We have IoT, for instance. We have a bunch of events that in the before we don't have it. For instance, in the aviation, like we said today, most of the times the airplanes collect lots of events during the flight, but when they came to the landing, we discard it. And
in the past, they collected, but they discarded it, or did they collect it all?
We don't. No, they collected, but it's discarded because they collected because, for instance, if you have an accident, they have to look for it. But it's something that we don't want to do it, but we need we need to assure that they have. But in that days, we don't see the necessity of exploring the data. And right now, they look for all the possibilities to grow their business and to optimize their routes and everything. So we are collecting everything, and lots of data that we need the big data ecosystem for doing that.
Rui?
Yes, it's, I love this because when you are talking about predictive analytics, it's something that companies want to do, but not all can do it. Okay, and we can find many examples that where the predictive analytics can help companies to, to be more competitive. And I think IoT has brought a lot of challenges and a lot of information that, especially on the manufacturing industry and on the aviation industry as well, that was already repeated here today. And aviation, during a flight, a plane collects terabytes of data, the engines, everything. And everyone must predict what can happen before something bad could happen, right? So it's very important to collect this data, and all of these algorithms can predict, looking at temperature, pressure, everything. So this is very important. When I'm just looking at also the aeolic towers that are producing energy, because it's it's one of the wind is one of our sources of energy. Even better, it's getting more critic. So it prevents predictive maintenance. So the maintenance depends, and has been done a lot in this industry to prevent outages of production. So it's not only cost saving or preventive maintenance. So this kind of thing of data must be very well treated by specialists to look at it with algorithms and, of course, the right people to give the key decision makers the right decision to make. Okay? So on operation side and on C-level side.
Okay, so Rui was talking about predictive and analytics. Daniel, do you think that without this focus on data, there is still room for intuition, or should we start thinking about intuition on another level?
No, I think intuition is something that is still very, very relevant. I think when you're consuming and processing data that comes from your transactional systems and you put it into a data warehouse and you create dashboards on top of that and so on, it's all very well explainable and reconcilable. The outcome of a predictive model from machine learning or whatever algorithm, it's not necessarily just that straightforward explainable on why and how this result was being achieved. So I think people need to assess the validity of these results using their intuition and their experience. And that's what we've seen happening in our use cases as well. And it comes also back to what I mentioned before, which is about trust of what you're seeing. And I think that's a very relevant topic. And the outcome of an algorithm, I think, will always be first by the consumers, will be first benchmarked against their intuition and experience, right? Do I see what did I expect this result? Does it make sense to me? I think that is very much an important factor.
Raul?
Yes, that's it. Of course, that we have room for intuition, but that we must face it against the results that our predictive algorithm gave us, because most of the times they don't tell us only one way. They show us 2 or 3 ways with certain percentage of reaching the success, and after that we have a human being that look for the data and based on his experience, take some decisions. And of course that we want to take that decision based on the results of the collecting, the reporting of the data that we already collected.
Rui, can you give me an example like this predictive analytics are still being used today for our daily basis? Some
Several. One that are being used or one that it should be used?
You can give me both.
Both?
I think the audience will
should be
you.
used. Okay, I'll tell you a story. I think it's better for me because it's my daily basis. I use the public transportation each day. And last week, I lived in the south margin of Lisbon, and I use the train to cross the river every day. I didn't know that last week it has been scheduled a strike, okay, in the boats. So when I entered, and I had an important meeting here in one of those rooms over there. And when I came, I had my director's team waiting for me. Usually the train is very, the train arrived on time. But last week didn't. And I didn't know why. Because when I just trying to enter into the train was full, so I have to wait for 3 or 4 trains to enter into the train. So I just figure in the end of the day, because my wife told me that it has been a strike on the boat. So I think predictive analytics can manage, especially in our daily basis, especially on transportation, because smart cities does really need this. So we are doing a lot, especially in Lisbon, with new methods of transportation. However, this kind of ecological and sustainable transports needs to be more intelligent. So if the train is coming 20 minutes by 20 minutes, why in that day the train didn't come in twice? Because the offer on the public, it was twice. So I have to adapt. I need to be fast and adapt along the real time. And the market, as Daniel said, the market is very important. So big data platforms, IoT, everything that is related with your customers, you need to bring your customers' data into your platform. Because we are market-driven. And if you are market-driven, you need velocity. And of course, Daniel has said twice that trust. You need to trust the data you are getting. So to be trustable, you need to have good teams. And you need to have experience as well. So experience in your teams, it's very important to give the right data and to choose the right algorithms.
Daniel, you work also in the energy ecosystem, and like we said in the beginning of the Tomorrow, there is a lot of instability, complexity in the current moment. We are in a moment of inflation and market inflation. I would like to know also some examples how the big data platforms and what kind of solutions are being found to face these challenges that we live in the current moment.
Yeah, I think very applicable question, and especially in the last 2 years, we've seen a massive amount of volatility in the energy business. And I mean, it's one of the top topics, top agenda topics nowadays for multiple reasons. We were very happy that one of our tools in our solutions tool set is our data analytics platform. And we could very much take advantage from that. Just think about the uncertainties in supply and how we could try to control that. We had a lot of data already available and had the sources for data in addition to that to just drive this analysis to manage our supply chain properly. Just think about it, and I'm talking often, it's about basic things. It's about having an accurate data point every day on your total inventory that you have, right? Having a good view how the logistics market is going and what options for the different modes of transport that you need to have, what is available, what is not available, and how is this going to evolve, and how is the pricing according to that demand going to evolve. These are all questions which we can answer to a certain extent if they're forward-looking through predictive analytics. But I think, as I said before, a lot is basics, analyzing the data that you have, and actually that you have even that you've produced yourself in your transactional systems, to actually figure out how much do I have on stock today, how much will it be tomorrow, and how much will it be in a week. So what decisions do I need to take in order to ensure supply to my different stock locations. It's one of the examples, and we focused very much on this, especially around this inventory position question and the logistics around that, because that has been a challenge in the past 2 years especially.
Do you think COVID helped in some way to change mentalities or to make a more data-driven approach?
Absolutely, it had an effect on people, and you could also see that people, or the departments internally, they're looking for structural solutions to obtain data. They don't just want to get a load of Excel sheets and then combining this manually. They want to have it in a system, and that's another aspect. They want to consume it by themselves. Right. They want to have direct access and want to consume this data, because through a project, you're not always fast enough to provide a solution to answer a question that they have today. Right. It's just you can set up your organization towards such targets, but I think we've invested a lot in self-service as well, so people can actually process the data by themselves. And that is vetted and checked and reconciled data that they can rely on.
And Rui and Raul, how you felt the approach and the evolution and the impact of COVID in the most of the companies that search the works and the tools that B4L provides?
First of all, with the COVID, everyone is inside their houses, and for instance, for my experience that I work physically in the client, it was a big change, because we have to adapt. We have to make our meetings by Teams or by Zoom or by everyone. Everyone have to change it. I think it was a good change, but in my personal experience, I think that in consultancy, we always will need to be with the customers, with the clients, especially in the beginning, whiteboards, sharing challenges and thoughts, and it's a challenge also for us, because with our academies and our trainings, we have to balance between the personal life and the work needs, work experience. But I think in the end, I think we need to get the best of it.
Rui?
Honestly, initially, everyone, I think, we were very afraid of what can we, live. And when we faced that all of our teams were working remotely at home, and how, especially the management, how can we deal with this? Initially, it was very challenging for us and for our customers. Raul didn't say it, but one of our customers, that is in the banking again, but they have strict regulations about everything, and when we said that they must go home, it was a really nightmare. I was trying to convince 24 hours before the COVID starts, and the government says that everyone must go home. I had too many calls with the chief, technology officer of my customer, just forcing not people to go, whilst we had the people, of course, afraid of the pandemic. So it was a huge challenge in that time, a huge challenge. But looking at the future, right now I'm excited, because HR team are recruiting. We need even more specialized roles to working with us: data governance, data strategy, data security. We didn't talk about data security, but it's a very important theme about data security. And this kind of remote allows BI4All as a company, and a growing company and an international company, to hire any place in this planet. So I'm very excited about this. And the main challenge that BI4All has at the moment, it's a cultural issue, because we need to mix the good things that we have in our DNA, like a Portuguese team, because this is a Portuguese team in his nature, but it's not a Portuguese company anymore. So C-level, mid-senior levels, the consultants, everyone is changing. So we are adapting to this present, and we are expecting a brilliant future.
Hoping to thrive.
Hoping to thrive, yes.
So I would like to thank everyone here in the audience, especially to Rui, Raul, and Daniel. It was a pleasure. If someone wants to make a question, we have like 2 minutes, and really quick. If not, hope that you liked the conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you.